When most people imagine someone with an extremely high IQ, they picture a genius scribbling equations on a whiteboard, or someone who can multiply 4-digit numbers in their head in seconds, or the awkward kid in school who aced every test without trying. We've all been looking at it completely wrong. Real high intelligence doesn't show up in fast math or perfect grades. It shows up in 6 very specific habits, quiet, everyday behaviors that most people never connect to intelligence at all. And if you recognize yourself in what I'm about to share, there's a very good reason for that. Stay until the end because the last habit is the one that will change how you see yourself completely. If this is the kind of content that makes you think differently about yourself, hit subscribe. We break down psychology and human behavior in the simplest form every week in a way that actually makes sense. Now let's get into it. Habit 1. They spend more time inside their head than anywhere else. Have you ever found yourself replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, analyzing what was said, what wasn't said, and what it really meant? Most people experience a thought and move on. You experience a thought and then spend the next hour pulling it apart. Not because something is wrong with you, because your brain genuinely finds its own thoughts more interesting than most things happening around you. Psychologists call this deep cognitive processing. Your mind doesn't just receive information and file it away. It examines it, looks for the pattern underneath it, checks for the thing that doesn't quite add up.
This is one of the clearest markers of high intelligence. Not speed, not performance, but depth. Can you relate to this? That feeling of being physically in a room but mentally somewhere else entirely. Not because you're bored, but because your brain is working on something more interesting than the conversation happening in front of you. This is why people have called you quiet, distant, or hard to reach. This is why you do your best thinking alone. This is why the inside of your own head has always been a more interesting place to be than most rooms you've walked into. Habit 2. Their brain refuses to switch off at night. You lie down. Your body's tired. And within minutes, the thoughts start. Not anxious thoughts, not worried ones. Active, generative ones. A problem from earlier in the day begins solving itself. A connection between 2 unrelated things clicks into place. An idea arrives at midnight with an urgency that makes sleep feel like an interruption rather than a need. This is not insomnia. This is not anxiety. Researchers studying high IQ individuals consistently find one pattern. Their brains stay significantly more active after the world goes quiet. The part of the brain responsible for complex thinking and pattern recognition doesn't receive the signal to stop. It treats silence as an opportunity to keep going. Have you ever woken up at 2 a.m. with the answer to something you'd been stuck on for days? That's not random. That's exactly what a high IQ brain does when it finally has space to work without interruption. This is why you've always been a night person. This is why rest doesn't always feel restful.
This is why your best ideas arrive at the worst possible time. Habit 3. They question things most people simply accept. Someone explains how something works. Everyone nods and moves on. You sit there thinking, but why though? Who decided this? Does this actually hold up when you look at it properly? Your brain cannot accept information just because it arrives with confidence. It needs the reason behind the rule, the logic underneath the instruction, the assumption that everyone else skipped over without noticing. Abraham Maslow, studying the highest functioning minds he could find, discovered they all shared one consistent trait, not what they knew, but how deeply they questioned what they were told. They never stopped asking why.
Kauki's psychologists link this directly to fluid intelligence, the ability to reason through problems that have no established answer. Does this sound familiar? That experience of asking a question everyone else found obvious and being looked at like you'd said something strange? This is why authority never impressed you on its own. This is why you've always needed the explanation, not just the instruction. This is why you've quietly been right about things more often than people expected. If this is hitting close to home, drop a comment right now that says, "This is me. I read every single one." And the next 3 habits are the ones most people never connect to intelligence at all. Habit 4. They find it almost impossible to tolerate small talk. You're at a social event.
People around you are talking about what they watched last night, what someone said at work, what the weather is doing, and you're nodding. But inside, something feels completely flat. That's not rudeness. That's your brain being genuinely unable to engage with conversation that carries no weight. High IQ minds are wired for substance. They need conversation that goes somewhere, that explores an idea, challenges a belief, or reveals something true about how people actually work. When a conversation doesn't offer that, the brain disengages. Not on purpose, automatically. Psychologists call this a high need for cognition, the internal drive to think deeply rather than engage at surface level. It's not a choice. It's just how your mind is built.
Have you noticed that your best conversations happen with one specific person? Or sometimes a complete stranger, rather than in a room full of people you've known for years? This is why networking events drain you completely. This is why you've been called antisocial by people who never gave you anything real to talk about. This is why one honest conversation is worth more to you than an entire evening of noise. Habit 5. They are incredibly hard on themselves. This one might surprise you, but people with high IQ are significantly more likely to be their own harshest critic, not slightly, significantly. Here's the simple reason why. A highly intelligent mind can see, with painful clarity, exactly what it is capable of, which means it also sees just as clearly every time it falls short. That gap between what you know you could do and what you actually did doesn't just pass, it sits with you. Sometimes for days. Psychologists call this self-critical rumination. Research consistently shows it is far more common in high-functioning individuals because the same sharp mind that helps you see everything clearly also sees your own imperfections in high definition. It is not a character flaw, it is a side effect of awareness. Do you hold yourself to a standard nobody else around you seems to care about? Do you replay your own mistakes with a level of detail most people would never apply to themselves? This is why you are your own toughest competition. This is why ordinary feels genuinely uncomfortable to you. This is why the pressure you feel internally is not your enemy. It is the reason you keep getting better when everyone else has already settled. Habit 6. They never stop learning, even when nobody's watching. Most people stop actively learning the moment school ends. The curiosity was never really about understanding. It was about passing. Once the grade no longer matters, the reading stops. For people with genuinely high intelligence, that never happens. Because the curiosity was never about the grade. It was about closing the gap between what they know and what they don't. It was about the genuine discomfort of not understanding something they find interesting. You read things nobody asked you to read. You go down rabbit holes at 11 p.m. that have nothing to do with your job. You've taught yourself entire subjects purely because something caught your attention and wouldn't let go. Psychologists call this epistemic curiosity, the internal drive to seek out knowledge for its own sake. In high IQ individuals, this drive doesn't fade with age, it compounds. The more you understand, the more you realize there is to understand. And that realization, rather than feeling overwhelming, feels like an invitation. Have you ever explained something you were fascinated by to someone who didn't ask, and watched their eyes slowly glaze over? This is why you know things about subjects nobody expected you to know. This is why learning, for you, was never something you did. It was just how you moved through life. These 6 habits were never personality quirks. They were always your mind operating exactly as it was designed to, deeper, slower, and more thoroughly than most people around you ever realized. Stop trying to fix what was never broken. Start understanding what you actually have. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, never expecting anyone to read it. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not advice about being smart. That's advice about finally using what you already are. If you want to go deeper, read The Intelligence Trap by David Robson. It will show you exactly how to use your mind as a gift instead of fighting it as a burden. These 6 habits were never flaws. They were always the signature of a mind built differently. Stop apologizing for how you think. Start owning it.
If this resonated, subscribe. We break down psychology and human behavior every week in a way that actually makes sense. The comment of the day goes to everyone who has ever been told they think too much. You weren't thinking too much. You were just surrounded by people who weren't thinking enough. That was never your fault. That was just your frequency.